Today, we're going to install some upgraded horns on this 2024 Denali HD. The 2024 GMC HD has a 6.6 liter Duramax in it, and the horn kit that we're installing comes to us from motohorn.com. The main kit is just a small compressor, a horn, a relay and harness, and a bracket. And these are the main components of the kit. There's also a little hose and some hardware and stuff like that in there. Today we're going to install 2 of these, and these get tied right into the main horn power. So when the horn button gets pressed, it'll actually be 4 horns that are working, not just these 2. And we'll keep the other horns going with it. Let's get to it. This pocket right here behind the passenger front headlight is right where the factory horns are. And if we go right here, the harness that we need to tie into for power is also right here. So we can take 2 of these and make sure they fit, and they actually do. So all we need to do is build some brackets to link the 2 horns together, one on top of the other, and then we'll put this in. So basically the gist of what we're going to do is we're going to take these 2 horns and we're going to attach them together with their own mounts, here and here and here. And then we're going to use the brackets to come off of these in between the 2 and mount them just like this inside of the fender without taking the fender off. Alright, to build the horn brackets, we're going to take the bracket that came with the horn. On one side of it, it has 2 holes that line up really nice with the 2 holes on the end of the horn. We're going to take the bracket, we're going to hold it up to the horn with the bracket leading away from the back side of the horn, or top. I'm going to put the 2 bolts through it so it stays located in its proper place, tentatively, like that. And then we're going to mark it, just like this. And now we're going to take it back off. And now we're going to put this in a vise, and we're going to bend it. We're going to make a 90-degree bend right on this line. This is our bend. This is our bracket for the back of the horns. For the front support, with the 2 horns clamped together, I'm going to use the same bracket. This is the top side. I've marked the hole that will go to the horns on their front support. And then there's a little angle on my bend. About a 20-degree, 25-degree angle, so that the bracket can swing forward and not be a perfect straight side-to-side shot. So it can be a little bit tolerant to slight differences when it bolts into the frame, and you'll see that in a little bit. Setting them up this way, the factory hardware is not going to be compatible. The bolts are just too short for the 2 thick bricks together. So we've added a couple of just bolts. They're M6 by 1.0 threads. You can get just longer bolts, and the nuts that come in the kit are just fine. When we go to assemble it, aside from the 2 horns and the brackets, the kit comes with these little rubber isolators that go on each horn. And we're going to put these in between the horn and the bracket on both support brackets. And this is pretty much how it'll mount in the truck. You got your bracket coming up the back, and then one bracket coming up off the side at an angle so it can twist forward and then twist back to line up as it needs to. Okay? Okay. And now we need to cut this top line, bend at this line for the front bracket, and then cut this here for the back bracket. Alright, so what we landed with was we shortened the back bracket a little bit, and we also chopped the outside half of it, so it's only the inside piece, and we drilled a 1/4 inch or 6mm hole through it, and we're going to use a 6mm bolt. On the front bracket, we put our 2 bends on it and we trimmed it to where it's going to be. And now we mock this up into place, set it exactly at the angle and pitch we want it, wiggle this around until everything looks right, and then we mark our holes, or mark where we need to drill our 2 holes, and then we drill our 2 holes in the body of the truck. All right, so we've marked our 2 holes and we're drilling our 2 holes. This is the front one, and this for the rear support. The rear support is just fine the way it is. The front support is, well, they're both thin metal, but the rear support we can get to put a nut behind. The front support is going into a blind hole that's a thin sheet of metal, so we need to do something to give this some strength so the bolt can last for a while through all the vibrations and the road noise and stuff, or the road vibrations. We're gonna use a nutsert here for this. Perfect. So for the back support, we're just going to use one of the M8 bolts and a nut on the back side because it's out in the open. For the front support, it's a blind hole. We can't get to the other side of it, and it's just thin sheet metal. So we're going to use a nutsert. A nutsert is this little thing right here. It has threads inside, so a bolt can be used, but it gets installed like a rivet. Alright, this is the nutsert. This is the tool. We screw the nutsert onto the tool all the way down. Then we put the nutsert and the tool in the hole. Squeeze the rivet. And then we unscrew this rivet. Now, there's an M8 threaded hole right there, ready for us. Alright, something else that we need to do before we get too much crazier with the installation is we need to tie into the power wire for the horns. For that, we need to reach our hands down here and unhook the horns from the vehicle so we can get the harness up enough to work with it. So I have a brown and a black wire at the horn connector. The brown wire is power, and that's the wire we're going to splice it to. So I'm going to attach this blue wire to the power wire for the horn. Perfect. Get my little torch. And that's really all that we need out of this pocket for power is just the one power wire from the horn. Everything else, the ground, we can make our own ground. The power we'll get from the battery. We only need this one wire. I know the diagram shows them taking power and ground for the relay from the horn, but you can take ground from anywhere. We also have to mount 2 of these pumps. And we take our big power wires that come with the kit. We're going to strip back 2 ends, and we're going to take these yellow spade terminals and we're going to crimp them on to each end. And we're ready to go on the pump. We made 2 little shorty ground wires here and here. These will go from the pump motor to the eyelet that the factory horn bracket is bolted to. These will just go right on there. We'll put the 10mm nut right back on it, and this will feed the ground to both of the motors. We're also going to take one of the thin black wires that came with the kit, and we're going to put a small eyelet on it. This did not come in the kit. I took this out of my own. And we're going to add this to the stack with the ground for the motors so the relay has a ground. I know we could have used the ground off of the harness feeding the horns like the instructions actually did show. I just love running my own separate grounds. Getting ready to rain. Alright, so we're pretty much done. I got the power wire to connect at the battery still, and then we're good to go. So first, I'll show you guys what the horn sounds like without the horns attached. That's just the factory horn without the moto horns attached. And this is with the moto horns attached and the factory horns also. Outrageous, right? Moto horns. At the battery on the passenger side, we've taken power from right here, right off of the stud that's actually on the battery lug, and we've attached our two relays right here. There is a hole in this bracket that is for a keeper for this wire. We just pull the wire out and then use a bolt to hold a relay on either side. We run the harness underneath here to get over to this side, and then all of our electricals down in there, and all of our horns are right here and right here. They're bolted to the back bolt here. We have a redundant ground right here. The redundant ground runs all the way back around to the 1/4-inch lug that has the M6 bolts that are holding the grounds for the motor. I ran a redundant ground just because all of this is painted that we're working with, and just to make sure that we have a nice, good, strong ground so the compressors are, you know, working at their best. And that pretty much completes our horn installation on this 2024 GMC